Computer record. Okay. Hello. Namaste. Welcome, beloved mighty companions.
Namaste y bienvenidos, amados.
This little spontaneous moving commentary on the movie Momento.
Esto es un comentario espontáneo de la película Momento.
Now we're getting ready to watch it here, and so we thought we'd do a little pre-movie talk.
Vamos a ver esta película y pensé hacer como una pre-película.
Now this is a real mind warp. You got to stay with Jesus on this one and get his interpretation.
Tú tienes que estarte con Jesús en esta película y pedir su interpretación.
It's quite an ingenious bit of movie making. It's a very ingenious movie making, the way the movie's put together.
Es una forma muy ingeniosa como hicieron esta película.
And what's good about that is that your mind, the ego mind, can't get a hold of it so easily. Can't get a hold, it can't grasp it so easily, what's happening in the movie. The ego can't get a grasp of the movie because of the way it's structured.
Es como la forma de la estructura de la película que el ego va something what's going to happen with the ego? Sorry.
Well, it just can't follow this movie.
No, que el ego no puede seguir esta película.
Because it's not linear, which is the truth. Time is not linear.
Porque en esta película el tiempo no es lineal, igual como es en realidad.
Time is simultaneous.
El tiempo es simultáneo.
And you notice in A Course in Miracles, Jesus talks about, it seems like time is going back, it's going forward, but it's actually going backwards through forgiveness.
Como dice Jesús, el tiempo pareciera que fuera hacia el futuro, pero realmente va hacia el pasado, al momento cero.
So what they're showing with this movie is that it seems to go in one direction. I think it's color in one direction, and then black and white scenes are actually going backwards at the same time. They're showing different clips from moving forward seemingly and backward in time.
Vamos a ver cómo hay unas escenas que van como hacia el futuro y otras hacia el pasado, como devolviéndose.
So we have this main character, Leonard Shelby.
Tenemos el personaje principal que es Lina Chow.
Now he's an insurance investigator.
Ella es una investigadora de seguros.
Or used to be his job.
Ese era su trabajo antes.
And he had, quote unquote, some kind of trauma where he has amnesia.
Ella tenía amnesia y entonces tiene un trauma con eso.
And he is looking for who killed his wife.
Y él es un señor, y él está mirando quién mató a su esposa.
Okay, and supposedly because of this, he was traumatized.
Y supuestamente por esto quedó traumatizado.
So he can't remember things very well, and he has to write them down on little pieces of paper.
Y él no se acuerda de todo, pero está escribiendo en pedazos de papel parte de la historia.
So it's just the perfect representation of consciousness of how you're trying to build a story around little fragments of information.
Y esto es como funciona la conciencia, que trata de
So we have a little break in the connection, but he's taking these scraps and information, trying to make all these decisions.
Y él trata de tomar estos pedazos y tomar decisiones con base en ello.
It takes a scrap of information and then tries a scrap of information, then try to prove that it's true.
Y así es como funciona el ego. Trata de tomar partes y creer que eso es la verdad.
To try to demand of God that we're right.
Y tratando de mostrarle a Dios que Él tiene la razón.
And what's really powerful about this movie, when you watch it, you're going to see that the opportunity, he's going to see the whole picture. The whole picture is he's going to be given it and he decide not to accept it.
Y va a llegar un momento donde él va a tener toda la imagen completa y él no.
This is exactly how constantly having the opportunity to see it in another way, and we're choosing something else.
Y así es como funciona el ego. Tenemos algunas oportunidades de ver todo completo, pero igual elegimos nuevamente ver con el ego.
So we're actually choosing over and over again. Every time we don't follow the Holy Spirit, we're choosing not to see it another way.
Y cada vez que nos seguimos al Espíritu Santo estamos eligiendo no ver, no eligiendo la otra manera.
Every time we have an unhealed twitch, we're refusing to see another way.
O cada vez que tenemos un twitch, una incomodidad y nos rehusamos a verlo de otra manera.
And you'll see also in this movie, which is also a play in consciousness, where the one who comes to try and be expression of the Holy Spirit to tell you what's true,
the
messenger who comes to tell you what's true,
y el mensajero que viene a decirte que es la verdad,
of the Holy
símbolo del Espíritu Santo,
you're going to want to kill that messenger.
Y tú vas a querer matar a este.
And that's the symbol
mensajero.
of Jesus. Jesus came to show what's true, and then he was crucified.
Jesús vino a traernos el mensaje y fue crucificado.
But you have to see that there's no one outside to crucify, so it's always self-crucifixion by not accepting the correction.
Y nos damos cuenta que es una crucifixión a nosotros mismos cuando no aceptamos la corrección.
And also not listening to the Spirit about which mighty companions are telling you the truth.
Incluso no escuchando al Espíritu cuáles compañeros poderosos te dicen la verdad.
See, the ego chooses what it wants to hear out of all the consciousness.
Y el ego escoge a quién escuchar.
So it's going to choose the people and the figures in the dream that will agree with its thought system.
Y él va a escoger las personas que están de acuerdo con su sistema de pensamiento.
And then, so really, when you're in guidance, you have to be very, very vigilant for Jesus.
Y por eso, cuando estás en guía, tienes que estar muy vigilante con Jesús.
You have to be vigilant to find the mighty companions who you know will not compromise on what Jesus says.
Y vas a buscar al compañero, tienes que buscar al compañero que te diga Jesús que no transinja.
So, because the ego is going to go hunt around till it finds a bunch of mighty companions that agrees with it in the delusion.
Y porque el ego va a tratar de buscar compañeros que estén de acuerdo con tu engaño.
They can look really spiritual, but they are not in full decision to accept the last unanswered question.
Y pueden estar comprometidos, pero no están comprometidos con contestar la última pregunta no contestada.
And if you're really being true to yourself, you're going to find the ones who have said yes to the last unanswered question.
Y por eso tienes que buscar las personas que han respondido sí a la pregunta no contestada.
As a symbol in your mind of being true to yourself.
Como un símbolo en tu mente de ser verdadero contigo mismo.
And then you'll join with them to see what the assignment is from the Holy Spirit.
Y unirte con ellos y mirar cuál es la asignatura del Espíritu Santo.
Otherwise, you'll see it'll be just like in this movie where the messengers, you're going to want to kill the messenger.
Y si no, como en esta película, te vas a dar cuenta que vamos a querer matar al mensajero.
You want to be, the play of consciousness is to be right.
El juego de la conciencia es yo estoy en lo correcto.
But there's no one to kill, so it's just killing the light out of awareness, the truth of identity out of awareness.
Y no hay nadie que matar, lo que se mata es La luz de la conciencia, se está matando la luz en la conciencia.
So you have to choose, and that's the way the ego plays. Then when it says no to Jesus, it goes into play guilt.
Y cuando le decimos a Jesús no, estamos jugando el juego de la culpa.
It's saying to Jesus, no, I want to keep this guilt.
Y es decirle a Jesús, no, yo quiero mantener esta culpa.
And then it's going to, any symbol, any person that it sees, anything in form that it looks at, it uses that as an excuse. Okay, I'm going to shut that symbol out of my mind. I'm not going to join with that mighty anymore because they're reminding me that I want to keep guilt.
Y vas a no querer ver estas personas que te recuerdan porque tú no quieres, tú quieres mantener la culpa.
So instead of turning directly into it to look at the figure that we're trying to reject, instead of looking at it directly,
en lugar de mirar directamente, instead
of looking directly to see what that is with Jesus, what that symbol is, that person is a symbol of.
Es mirar con Jesús qué símbolo es ese que estamos viendo ahí con esa persona.
The ego keeps the grievance and then cuts off that person, seeming figures go, oh, I'm not going to get their emails anymore.
Es como no voy a tener, por ejemplo, emails de esta persona porque es un símbolo que no quiero ver, que quiero cortar.
You know, no more on Facebook for that friend. They get cut.
No más este amigo en Facebook.
Because it's a symbol in the mind of what we don't want to look at.
Porque es el símbolo en nuestra mente de lo que no queremos ver.
So that's why we have to also, with Jesus, turn in and really look directly at all the things that are made up in the mind about Jesus. So we have to look at all the things that are made up in the mind about Jesus.
Por ejemplo, tenemos que mirar en la mente qué símbolos tenemos acerca de Jesús.
Because not looking directly at those, that's the symbol of what we don't want to see in ourselves.
Y esos símbolos que no queremos ver en ellos son cosas que no queremos ver en nosotros.
So this is a direct look in at the denial of the light that's always here now.
Y esto es una mirada directa para ver las negaciones de que la luz está aquí.
And you'll see the whole movie like avoid guidance, avoid guidance, avoid guidance. That's all it is.
La película nos muestra cómo es evadir la guía, evadir la guía, evadir la guía.
So there you go with Momentum. Very powerful movie if you really get the message of denial.
Esta es una película poderosa para ver el mensaje de la negación.
And to see how much the play of consciousness is not to accept the truth of what Jesus offers.
Y ver cómo el juego de la conciencia no quiere aceptar lo que nos ofrece Jesús.
Even when it's really obvious.
Incluso cuando es tan obvio.
Okay, Jesus, go for the movie.